Welcome back to another WhoScored.com Premier League preview, and it doesn't get much bigger than this as we look ahead to Manchester City welcoming Arsenal in the Premier League this weekend. I'm your host, Dan Worth, and I'm joined as ever by Ben McAleer. Ben, how excited are you for this clash on Sunday?
I can't wait. I mean, you've gone from Wolves, Newcastle to Man City, Arsenal. It doesn't really get much of a step up than that, with all due respect to Wolves and Newcastle fans. But this is one of those games where, when you look back at the Premier League table in May, you'll think, well, was the title won and lost there? And it's those mini battles that could determine who will come out on top on Sunday.
Yeah, I completely agree. In my head, this is the Premier League's best attack versus the Premier League's best defence. And that can only, disclaimer, end in a classic, I think. So I'm really excited for Sunday too. But let's jump straight into it then. And I don't think there's any other place to start than that man, Erling Haaland. Started the season in incredible form. I mean, I'm almost not surprised anymore with Erling Haaland because he's just ridiculous. He posts incredible numbers. Scored more goals this season than any other team, bar the team he plays for. And he's overperforming his XG by double. Do you have any superlatives for Haaland that I maybe haven't used, or anything else to add other than the fact that he's just probably, well, definitely the best striker in the world at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument really. He's just unreal. But it's incredible what a summer off sort of tournament football can do for a player. It's like he's been biding his time in a back to tank like Darth Vader, waiting to be unleashed upon opponents. And City are just reaping the rewards from that. Obviously, they can break down Inter on Wednesday night, but Inter, of course, have that very solid backline themselves. I mean, he's got the best conversion in the Premier League. He's got the most clear-cut chances. He's just unstoppable at the moment, and that's just proof of how effective a break of football can be over the summer.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously, there's a lot in the press at the moment about players being overworked. And yeah, having that break has obviously paid massive dividends for him. I mean, he was scoring for fun before the break when there was loads of congestion. He's scoring for fun now. But yeah, I do think that rest and recovery over the summer has definitely worked nicely for him. And I just don't know where this ends. Like, does Haaland score like 60 goals this season? Probably not. But at the rate he's firing them in, it's ridiculous. 9 goals already. Like, yeah, I have no words for him. But it's not just Haaland that's performing well for Man City, which is why they're the only team in Europe, top 5 to have a 100% league record this season. Another player worth mentioning is Rico Lewis. Have you got any stats for us to talk about how strong his start to the season's been?
Not necessarily stats. It's just Guardiola compared him to Philip Lahm not too long ago, and he adored Philip Lahm during his time at Bayern. He said he was probably one of the most intelligent footballers he's ever worked with. He could play in right back, his starting position was right back, play left back and in midfield. And he's referred to Lewis as, little Lahm, and you can see why, because he'll put him in midfield, he'll do a job superbly. You put him in at right back, he'll do a job superbly. You put him anywhere, he would do a job superbly. It's not that the stats really justify just how good he's been. He's just always gives these consistent performances, and you can see why Guardiola absolutely loves him, just as he did Philip Lahm at Bayern.
Yeah, being compared to Philip Lahm is definitely not the worst comparison. I think you'd be pretty chuffed if you were Rico Lewis with those comparisons. And yeah, he's been great, particularly on the eye test this season. Philip Lahm was a very clutch player, which brings us nicely on to Man City's clutch player, which is Ilkay Gundogan. How important do you think he's going to be this season if City are to win the league again?
I mean, you saw Arsenal brought in their own sort of clutch in Sterling. He's been there, done that with Man City. He worked wonders under Arteta when Arteta was coaching him at City there. But Gundogan is always just one of those players that really comes alive in sort of the March, April, May business end of the campaign. They obviously didn't need him last season, but they only won the league by 2 points. He's just such an important player for Man City. He was in his final season there when they won the treble. And if they are going to go all the way again this season, you feel like his return will be one of the key reasons behind that.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously this game could have some significant bearing on what happens in May. But let's talk about Arsenal then. I guess we need to bring up last weekend, despite what it might do to your mental health, Ben, but 1-0 defeat for your boys and Arsenal getting the win with a late Gabriel goal. I was kind of suggesting that Arsenal might struggle last week, but obviously they got the win, and that's to their credit. So let's talk about a couple of Arsenal players then. And I wanted to talk about Jurrien Timber first. He's 5th for touches in the opposition box. And I think, well, not only has he seemed like a new signing because he missed most of last season through injury, but I've just been really impressed with him. Have you got any thoughts?
No, I completely agree. When he came in last summer, it was interesting that he was signed as kind of cover and competition for Ben White at right back. He obviously can play centre back, and Arsenal liked his sort of progressive approach to defending, where he'd be on the front foot, off the ball, and then again on the ball. So when he started at left back against Nottingham Forest, it was a bit of a surprise. Then he picked up that ACL injury, was out for the season, but he's making up for lost time this season. He started 3 of their 4 league games at left back. He kind of brings that on-ball quality that Zinchenko brings, but he's also got that robustness and physical presence that Kiwior and Tomiyasu bring. But he also combines that with just this ability to charge forward, and he just looks unstoppable when he does get forward. Arsenal haven't really focused their attacks down the left. They sort of prioritise the right with Saka and Ben White, but to have Timber down the left to step into midfield if need be, and to really just charge forward, down the left is really important. Offers another route to goal, which is really vital, especially against teams that will, sit deep against Arsenal. They have an alternative there.
Yeah, for sure. And we spoke at length last week about Arsenal's absentees, with the likes of Odegaard, who Arteta's confirmed is going to be out for a little while now, and how that might impact. I'm not saying it didn't impact, because it definitely did, but they got the result regardless. I'd imagine they're feeling still quite confident about going into this game, despite having Odegaard out and things. So it will be interesting to see how it pans out, particularly in the midfield. But yeah, I think we're in for a cracker. Let's quickly then finish up on some bet builders. We'll follow the same format as last week. We'll use the WhoScored.com bet builder comparison tool to give you one banker and one long shot for this game. Please do remember to gamble responsibly if you're following us in on any of these bets, and do go and use the tool. Super easy to use, and it's live on every match sensor on WhoScored.com. Will help you find the best prices for your bet builders amongst the best bookmakers in the UK. So I will kick us off this week with the banker, and the first leg comes as no surprise, or should come as no surprise. I'm going for Erling Haaland to score any time. I've kind of already reeled off all the stats that I need to back this one up, but 9 goals already, in scintillating form. I think he's the best striker in the world, and I think he scores here. So Erling Haaland to score any time is odds against, so that's quite a nice base for this bet builder. Next up, I've got Saliba over 1.5 tackles. Again, I already said I think Arsenal have the best defence in the league, and Saliba is one of the key pillars to that. He's averaging 4 tackles per game in the Premier League so far, albeit, and no offence, Ben, they haven't come up against anyone quite as good as Man City yet. But still, 4 average, only need 2 here for this leg to cop. And finally, I'm going for Saka over 1.5. Oh, sorry, no, I'm not. I'm going for Saka over 0.5 shots on target. So even easier. He's averaging 1.8 shots on target in the league this season. He's Arsenal's highest rated player on WhoScored.com. I love him to bits. He's going to have a massive role to play if Arsenal were to get a result here. So yeah, Saka just needing the 1 shot on target for this to cop. This bet comes in at 7-1 best price using the WhoScored.com bet builder comparison tool with Bet365, and is as short as 5-1 elsewhere in the market. It's likely that there will be bigger price discrepancies a little close to the game, but we're recording this on Thursday morning, and of course, Arsenal play this evening. So there'll be more markets, and more bookmakers will be priced up, probably by the time you watch this, if I'm perfectly honest. But once there's a bit more of an idea of who's going to play and what the implications of their trip to Atalanta tonight are. So I'm going to throw it to you, Ben, over to the long shot.
Yeah, I know we're waxing lyrical about Jurrien Timber. However, he makes up the first part of this bet builder. He's been booked in 2 of the 3 starts for Arsenal this season in the Premier League. So we've got him to be shown a card. I've gone for Kai Havertz over 1.5 fouls. He has, come alive in the second half. In 2024, he's become really important to Arsenal, but he also, isn't afraid to get stuck in. He's averaging 2 fouls per game in the Premier League this season. And I've got Bukayo Saka in mine as well, but to register over 1.5 assists. No players registered more assists in the Premier League this season at time of recording, as level with Cole Palmer on 4. So Timber to be shown a card, Havertz over 1.5 fouls, and Saka over 0.5 assists. That comes in at 40-1 with Bet365, the lower price of 37-1 at the moment. However, that will likely change before the game on Sunday, when more bookmakers offer these markets. Sorry. And obviously Arsenal do play tonight, so that could change. Well, probably will change, but that's what I've gone for at 40-1.
Very nice. I love the Havertz play. I feel like I've spent the last couple of seasons backing Havertz to commit fouls because he's super scrappy up top. And you'd imagine Arsenal are playing that game against Man City. Like, Havertz will be trying to break down as much as possible, and is likely to give away some fouls. That brings us to a close then. So thanks very much for watching. In fact, actually, before we go, Ben, I'm going to ask you what your result prediction is for this huge match.
I backed Arsenal to win last week, albeit to win 3-2. They still won by a single goal, but I think Man City will break them down on Sunday. I just think they've had the extra period of rest. They haven't travelled to Italy and back on Thursday. And I think that Haaland will make the difference. So I think Man City to win 2-1.
Yeah, very nice. I was actually thinking 2-1 myself, but I'll change it up and I'll just go for a boring 1-0 after I've talked at length about how much I think Man City's attack is amazing. I'm going to say they score just once and Arsenal fail to break them down. 1-0 to Man City for me. Right, that's it then. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and thanks, Ben, for joining me. As I already mentioned, if you are following us in on any bet builders or any bets this weekend, please do so responsibly. Make sure you enjoy the football and visit WhoScored.com for all of your stats and all of your bet builder comparison needs. Enjoy the game, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.